how to build and create and define culture inside an organization needs to be a core competency of your executive team. What's up, Culture Drop? I'm on a tear on this one. This video is about culture specifically and how most organizations sort of like hand culture off to HR to be like, hey, you do this thing. Oh man, I have so much to say about this. All right, so this is what I want to say. This is what I want to impart to leadership teams, organizations. If you care about culture, if you want to get culture right, if you understand and prioritize culture, there's something that you need to understand as a leadership team inside an organization, and that is this. Culture is not a function of HR. Employee engagement surveys are a function of HR, legal compliance is maybe a function of HR, or like performance reviews are maybe a function of HR. Culture is not. Culture is a function of the executive leadership team in the organization. If you want culture inside your organization to matter, to be tangible, to be real, for people to feel it, for it to be an actual, tangible, strategic thing that exists, that people actually experience inside your organization, it cannot be something you just hand off to the HR department. Your executive core leadership, senior leadership team needs to be aligned on how do we define our culture? What is culture? Like, what is the value of culture? It has to belong to every single person if you want culture to matter. In so many organizations, I see a struggle that takes place, which is that the executive team understands that culture matters, but they're like, you do this thing. And the truth is that culture is not like sales or operations or marketing. It is not just like a function of one department of the organization. It has to be congruent. It has to make sense, and it has to be something that the leadership team is aligned on and understands. It has to be a competency of your leadership team that they understand like the playbook and what culture is and how you define culture as an organization. They don't all have to execute it. It doesn't fall on like the CFO to execute culture, but they have an equal part as part of the senior leadership team to understand what is the theory, what's the process here, what are we building, and how are we doing this. That is the only way that culture works. If you just hand it over to HR to like do some stuff around this or whatever, it'll always feel like where we do these surveys and we do this feedback stuff and we have all these sort of separate little pieces to like approach culture, but that it doesn't really ever stick. It doesn't really ever be a thing that people really truly experience and feel that is alive inside the organization. The reason this is the case, the reason that this can't just be a function of HR is because in sales, you have this sales pipeline and this whole department that's in charge of sales, and like they do that and they build it. But culture has to be something that belongs to everybody. And one of the recipes that makes culture work is the sense of like that an organization starting from a leadership team is committed to this thing, that we say this is who we are and we mean it. It's sacred to us, right? If you say this is our culture and you define it in values or behaviors or whatever defines your culture, it has to be a message from the leadership team that is 100% aligned that says this is our promise to you, that this is how you'll be treated by your coworkers, by your boss, by everybody here, right? That like the experience that you have working for this organization is contained inside these values or behaviors in this culture. That is an element. If you don't have that in place, it doesn't work. And so a lot of senior leadership teams or companies be like, here, culture, you do this, HR, but then you have leaders who gossip and badmouth about other people, right? If you have respect and trust and integrity and teamwork and all those kinds of things, you have people inside the organization that are high-level leaders in the organization that are violating those things. They're violating those behaviors and they're violating those values, which sends the message to everyone in the organization that like, you don't really mean this. It's not culture, it's internal marketing. And then culture doesn't work because people are like, it's just politics and we don't buy it. That is the very first easy thing to like undermine all the culture work that you do, is that you don't have an aligned team that understands it. Like, we have to hold ourselves to this level of accountability. If we say that we are this thing, we have to execute that. We have to be responsible for that. And leadership in the organization has to be willing to be called on the carpet and held accountable to those things, because if they aren't, nobody else in the organization will believe it. And that is one of the reasons that culture has to belong to the executive team. You have to be aligned. How to get culture right, very high level, very simply, is clarity. You need to understand what is our culture. Like, if we say our culture, what does that mean? We have to have commitment to it. We have to be aligned to say this is sacred to us. It's not optional. It is sacred to us. This is truly who we are and we mean it. And we have to be consistent. We have to weave and integrate and operationalize that culture that we have into what people experience as employees, from hiring and onboarding and training and development and rewards and recognition, performance evaluations. It has to be integrated into all those things. That's how you get culture right. But it cannot just belong to HR, and leadership teams need to rethink their idea that like culture is a function of HR. If you don't own it, 100%. As a leadership team, your employees across the organization will not own it. And you can't just say what it is and put it up on the wall as a poster. You have to live it, which means you operationalize it, you execute it in your formal processes and systems. It's not easy to do, but it's very simple to understand how to get it right and why teams struggle so much with culture. So, man, I know I'm on a tear on this one. It's my world. I love this stuff, but I'm like, so many times with executive teams, I just want to shake them and be like, you all have to own culture. You all have to speak the same language. You all have to understand what is culture, how do we build it. If you don't, if you're not aligned, your chances of getting it right are like, maybe, and it feels too important to leave up to like, well, maybe. Okay, I love you. Go be awesome. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel, or you can sign up for the Culture Drop mailing list and get these emails and videos right into your inbox.